This is important, but this message may not be for you. This message is for you if you're carnivore or carnivore curious. If you're keto, ketovore, low carb, this message is also for you. For anyone else, you're banned, because I'm going to be talking about some things that I don't want you to see. With that said, I was inspired yesterday. Inspired by 3 gentlemen on a live stream. Kerry from Homestead How, Adam from Carnivore Today, and Rod from Stay Strong Live Long. Together, they did a different kind of carnivore live stream. A live stream with an important message. And here's the thing. As carnivores, we are literally and figuratively pushing against the grain. And the resistance that we are and will receive in future is intense. And so the only way that change is going to happen is through a grassroots effort. And that means that in whatever way each of us can, we are all part of this. It's up to as many of us as possible to share our message, to publicly talk about how carnivore has helped us. And that's what this live stream was about, helping everyday carnivores to understand the simple things that they can do to get started on YouTube and share their message of success about how carnivore has helped them. And if you're just getting started on YouTube or you're considering sharing your story on YouTube, I want to encourage you too. The more of us out there talking about how carnivore has helped us, the better. They can shut down 1 or 2 of us, they can't shut down all of us. So in this video, I'm going to be giving away my secrets that have helped me grow my channel on YouTube. Just before we get started, I'd really appreciate if you could click like and also click subscribe. Every view, every like, every subscribe helps push the videos out and get the word out there. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about some fundamentals here. And it's important to know there are no strict rules when it comes to YouTube and the algorithm. And that's because the algorithm is literally your audience. People change, preferences change, trends go up and down, and there are always exceptions to any rule. So please take this as me sharing my experience only. My experience as both a YouTuber and as a marketer. From here it's unscripted, so you might notice a few more ums and ahs than usual. And a few more blinks. The first thing I want to tell you is going into this, what you think is the most important thing about your videos is not the most important thing. Every time someone starts a YouTube channel, they are going to be focused on the content because, of course, that's what seems to be the most important thing for you to get ready. If you don't have content, then you got no videos, right? So you're going to be thinking, what are my video ideas? How am I going to present this information? How am I going to stand out next to all these other YouTubers talking about similar things? And these are important questions to think about. And of course, the content ideas are going to be very important. But this is not your first and most important thing you should be thinking about. Because the most important thing on YouTube above anything else is click-through rate. And when you're first starting your channel, your content has no bearing on the click-through rate. Over time, as people start to get to know you and know that they enjoy your content and your content is something that they want to watch, then of course your content will be important for the click-through rate because that's what's going to bring back your return viewers. But when you're first getting started, content is a secondary thing. So if you're making a prioritized list of what is the most important thing to think about when you're starting your YouTube channel, again, this is a brand new YouTube channel, the most important things to consider are first, click-through rate, second, content. And we're going to break that down into a bit more detail in a moment. And actually, I've just realized that is in fact my next point. So we're going to break it down right now. Okay, so click-through rate being the most important, content becoming the second. All right, so we can break point 1 down into 2 items. And point 1 broken down is your thumbnail and your title. They are the components of your click-through rate. Of course, there are different things, like some people will look a little bit into your description and things like that before they click. But basically, if you look at the two most important things that are going to impact your click-through rate when you first get your videos out, when you first start your channel, it's going to be thumbnail and title. And then our second point is content. All right, so point number one is broken down into thumbnail and title. And why is it like this? Surely the content is what's most important, right? It's like saying, someone's intelligence is the most important thing, but only if they look pretty or only if they look handsome. And that's really frustrating, because you remember that time at school when you felt like because someone was good looking, they got more advantages than you, and they were always picked first for particular things just because they looked better. Didn't matter how much you studied and how clever you were, the handsome guy or the pretty girl always got first dibs on things. And unfortunately, that is the way YouTube works. It doesn't matter how good your content is. All right, so think of it like a product. You could have the best software product in the market. Every one of your competitors cannot match you on performance and features, but your marketing is awful. You haven't got a marketing manager, you're not running the same kind of TV commercials, and you don't have the same kind of billboards and the same kind of in-store advertising that the others do, and as a result, you have the worst sales. You feel good about yourself because you feel like you have the best software and it's the best and features, and the customers that you do have love you, but it's the other companies that are having the success because they've got the better marketing. And it's exactly the same way. You could have the best content. You can have the best results. You can have the best success story, the best interviews, the best everything. But if no one's clicking on your videos, then it doesn't matter. All right. So the purpose of us putting our channels out there is because we want to spread the word about Carnivore. And so, of course, we want to have good content, but we also want to have those good thumbnails and titles to get people to click through. And at this point, I'm just going to address a topic that you might be thinking about already, and that is a topic called clickbait. Now, a lot of people will click on a thumbnail and they'll get very frustrated when they click on the thumbnail because what they see in the video is not represented in any way about what was in the thumbnail. Okay, so there's a complete mismatch between the thumbnail and the video. Now, I'm not talking about that kind of stuff, but what I am talking about is having a thumbnail and title combination, which I'll go into a lot more detail about in a moment, that people actually want to click on. And there's a few things that will make people actually want to click. Now, one of the first things that you really need to consider about your thumbnails is don't put everything in your thumbnail. Don't make it busy. Don't try and tell the whole story in your thumbnail. Don't try and set up the whole context of your video in the thumbnail, because you're going to find that when you do that, you're not going to get a lot of click-throughs. Which leads me on to something very important. Whether it's about YouTube videos, whether it's about blog articles, whether it's about marketing, whether it's about advertising, whatever it is, one of the most important things that's going to get you engagement is something called a curiosity gap. And the curiosity gap is basically where you've set up a situation that has some kind of unanswered question. And so having that unanswered question creates this open loop inside someone's mind that it's like a little bit of an itch. It needs to be satisfied, and the only way to satisfy that itch is to be clicking on the thumbnail. Now, I'll give you an example of this in a thumbnail that I did recently. Recently, I did an interview with Carrie from My Metamorphosis. And one of the things that I do in all of my interviews is I take something that the person has said in the interview, and I try and work that into the thumbnail, the title, or both. And I was particularly happy with the way the thumbnail and title combination came out with Carrie's video, and I wanted to share that with you to give you an example of how you can create a curiosity gap. And during the interview, one of the things that Carrie said very clearly to me was, I stopped eating vegetables. Now, this was just a throwaway line, especially from someone who's talking about their transition into the carnivore diet. So it's kind of a meaningless line. Everyone that's watching and knows it's about carnivore knows that she's not going to be eating vegetables. But I wanted to create a curiosity gap. So what did I do? So I put the text on the thumbnail, as you can see here, that said, stopped eating veggies. Now, from a psychological perspective, actually, I didn't want to say veggies. I didn't want to say veggies because it gives it more of a friendly feeling. And of course, people in our community are not necessarily going to be friendly towards vegetables, right? So veggies, I think, gave the wrong kind of tone. However, if I'd put the word vegetables, then it would have taken up too much screen space and would have made the thumbnail look unbalanced, right? So that's why I kind of kept it to veggies, so I keep the text all on one side, or this side of the thumbnail, and the image of Carrie on the other side. Now, on its own, that doesn't give me a curiosity gap. That just gives me a thumbnail that people are going to notice. Stopped eating veggies? What? That's crazy! I know I get my vitamin C from veggies. If I stopped eating my veggies, I'm going to get scurvy, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so you're going to get that type of person who notices your thumbnail. The next thing I had to do was create the curiosity gap, and I did that in the title. And so the title of that video, if I can remember off the top of my head, I'll put it on screen, was "What Happened Next Left Me Speechless." And there you have the curiosity gap, because whether you're a carnivore, not a carnivore, whatever it is, you're going to be thinking to yourself, well, what happened? What happened? She didn't eat vegetables. What happened? I mean, if she's on a normal carnivore diet, then probably it's all right? But maybe not. I better go and check this out. And if it's someone who's not on a carnivore diet, they're going to be thinking, well, she must have scurvy, or her arms and legs must have fallen off. What's happened? I've got to go and check this out. All right, so they'll click through too. So you're going to get the click by creating that curiosity gap. Okay, so I've covered with your thumbnails, you don't want it to be too busy. You don't want to give the game away. You don't want to give too much information out. You just want to get someone's attention. So in copywriting, we have this formula. It's called AIDA, A-I-D-A. And that formula basically means attention, interest, desire, action. And in one of those long sales letters that you'll see on web pages trying to sell you some weird supplements, or you used to see in newspapers, back in the day before the internet, it'll be a long letter that it's basically, the idea of the letter is to be this greasy slide down the pole until they get to a buy button, or in the olden days till they got to the coupon at the bottom that they'd handwrite. And so attention is your headline that grabs their attention, and then they get interested by the next line that they read, and the next line, and the next line, and eventually that interest turns into desire for whatever it is you're talking about. And then what's the last one? Action. So then the action is, well, they've got the attention, the interest, the desire. Now they're going to take action. They'll click the buy button. All right. So I like to think of my thumbnail as the first step in this one, which is attention. Okay, attention. So the thumbnail, I see the sole purpose of the thumbnail as getting attention. Okay, and then the next step is the title, and what I see as the title is the interest part of that, right? So again, the formula is attention, interest, desire, action, and thumbnail is attention, title is interest. All right, so you get their attention, you get their interest with the title, and then they're going to click through. Okay, and then that's where the content becomes important. The content is important then, because that is the first 30 seconds of that content. That's where you get the desire, and the desire is just to stay with the video. And if you can keep as many people as possible for that first 30 seconds, YouTube is going to reward you with a lot of views. You've got a high click-through rate, and you're keeping people engaged for that first 30 seconds, then YouTube is going to push your video out to more people because it knows that your video is going to get more clicks, and that is going to keep more people on the YouTube platform. And that's their ultimate goal, because the more people stay on the platform, the more advertising revenue they get. Whether you're monetized or not, that's irrelevant. As long as you're keeping people on the platform, your channel's going to grow, and it's going to grow really quickly. So again, just to reiterate, thumbnail is attention, title is interest, and that first 30 seconds of content is desire. So I just want to add a couple more things in here. And one of the things that I find in most of the testing that I've done is that progression is really important for increasing your click-through rate. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule, but this is one of the things that I've found that really does help. And basically what happens, and I'm not saying that videos won't work if you don't have this in place, but it's going to help you, and that's having progression. So there's a thing in marketing on web pages, and that's that the more times someone is willing to click something, the more likely it is they're going to click the buy button, or they're going to click the email sign up link. That's just the way it works, right? So if you're encouraging someone to click, eventually the decision to click the buy button or the email sign up box at the end of that process is going to be much easier, because they're already in the habit. It's just kind of, I don't know if it's motor skill. It's a thing that's just programmed into the motor, now that you're clicking, you're just going to keep doing it, whatever it is. But that's what's going to happen. And a really good example of this is like, if we go back, it's almost 20 years ago now, there was a weight loss product that was available for purchase. It was just some kind of ebook. And the sales page was a very unique kind of sales page, and it was created in this way where there was like 3 paragraphs of text and then a next button, and the paragraphs of text would create some kind of question at the end, right? So you'd be a little bit interested to click next to find out the answer. And so it was really simple paragraphs, not big paragraphs, simple paragraphs of text. You read that, click the next button. You read the paragraphs, click the next button. And this went on for 5 or 6 pages. And then it had an email sign-up box. And it was like, by page 6, when people get to this email, they're like, well, I'm going to put my email address in. This product sounds interesting, or this idea sounds interesting. I'm not sure exactly how they were framing it. And they put their email in. Now the company has got their email address. Now next, once they've put their email in, they're presented with a buy button, and they've been clicking so many times, the natural inclination is to click. And the price is not there, so they have to click to see the price on the order form. So that's another incentive to click. That's another curiosity gap. And so all those clicks building up make the final click easier. And make the credit card coming out easier. So that's to say, when you look at that in terms of a YouTube video, the progression that happens with a thumbnail to title to content is quite important, right? So if, for example, you say on your thumbnail, using one of my more extreme examples, let's say one of my original ones that did really well, the thumbnail said, I was wrong about the carnivore diet. And, that gets a lot of attention, right? Especially as a new YouTuber on the scene, people are thinking, who's this guy? And why was he wrong about carnivore? Got to go and check this out, right? Now, if I'd said I can't remember what I said in the title, but if I'd said exactly the same thing in my title, I was wrong about the carnivore diet or something like that, then probably my click-through rate would have suffered. Because of the type of video it was. Again, I can't remember if I did or not off the top of my head, but the click-through rate did okay on that video, and that went to 100 and something thousand views. Probably more so because people didn't know me at the time, and they're like, who's this upstart saying the carnivore diet doesn't work? And the catch to that was I was saying I was wrong about the carnivore diet, and that I thought it was all about weight loss, and it was much more than just weight loss. I just didn't realize that. But if I'd said something that was more progressive, I would have got more click-through rates. And progressive is probably the wrong way to say that. But so I was wrong about the carnivore diet. And then what you want to do in your title is you want them to take a step up with the amount of information you're giving them. You don't want to give them the same amount of information, because then there's less need for them to click, right? Because then you can think, oh, okay, well, he's going to say there's something wrong about the carnivore diet, right? But if I give them a little bit more information there and say something that's kind of not, I was wrong about the carnivore diet, then they've taken a step up. And then they're much more likely to click. So similar to someone who's clicking through multiple pages on a sales page, they're more likely to just be trigger happy with the mouse and click on the buy button. Kind of giving people that little step up of information is an act of progression and is likely to get them to click through, okay, when they may not otherwise. So have your title as a progression to what's said in your thumbnail. Don't say exactly the same thing. And that's if you're putting text in your thumbnail. If you don't have text in your thumbnail, then it doesn't matter as much. But if you've got text in your thumbnail, make sure it's not identical in your title. Have a little bit of progression. Okay, and I've got a good example of this kind of progression on my channel right now, which I'll share with you. And it's from another interview that I did. And I just want to say the video that I was talking about, I was wrong about the carnivore diet. I didn't have progression in the title, and so my click-through rate would have suffered for that. Again, it did well, probably because I was like this upstart, and people were like, who's this guy that I can hate on, or something like that. But, you know, if I was doing that video now, I would definitely be wanting to try some progression there. You know, I would try and take it a step up, give a bit more information, and then the click-through rate is going to be better. Now, here's what I mean by progression. So we've got this interview here that I did with Justin, and the thumbnail says, I got fatty liver. And there's no more information that I got fatty liver. So that's already put a question into people's mind, like, how did he get fatty liver? Was that from eating fat from the carnivore diet? Was that like something because of something he did before? Was it because he was on the carnivore diet and then he suddenly started eating donuts at the same time as well? What happened? All right, so we're putting a question in people's minds already. So we've got people's attention, right? And then the title of this video is 1 Year Carnivore When This Happened. So what I've done here, there's two things. I've created more of a curiosity gap with the title, but I've also added some progression, right? So I've not only said, created a curiosity gap and got attention with the thumbnail saying, I got fatty liver, but what I've also done is I've stepped up and progressed the curiosity and the information given by confirming he is a carnivore 1 year and at least, and then this happened. So it's like I've enhanced that curiosity gap, but I've still progressed the amount of information that I've given. So there's that mental click has gone on, like clicking on the sales page, the mental click has gone on. So the likelihood of a click through is much higher. And as my videos go, as videos from my interviews go, that particular video is my second best one on the channel. The best one on the channel is the one I did with Rick, Charger Mopar, and you know, the Charger Mopar one's got 87k, and the one with Justin that we've just been talking about is 63k. So it did really well. So those are the things that I would recommend. Okay, so think about your thumbnail is attention, your title is interest, and the first 30 seconds of your content as desire. Okay, a desire to continue. You know, you're not trying to sell people stuff, you're trying to sell them on your story. but they have to have a desire to keep watching. So that's the desire that you want to create. So whether it's, changing scenes or text on the screen or zoom in, zoom out, that kind of, whatever it is to keep people's attention for that 30 seconds, that's really important to grow your channel too. Okay, so those three things, all right? Attention, interest, desire, very important, even with YouTube. Now, just a couple more things. I know I've been talking for a really long time, and this is a longer video than usual, but there's a couple more things that I think are really important. And the first thing is, this is the process that I use when I'm thinking about a video that I'm going to do. I'll have a content idea. So I'll have an idea for a video, and it might be, I'm going to make a video about what I eat in a day, or I'm going to make a video about exercise that I've been doing recently, or I'm going to make a video about what happened when I stopped eating eggs, or whatever it happens to be, right? So I've got that content idea. Then what I'll do is I'll try and come up with a thumbnail and title. And if I can come up with a thumbnail and title that I think the people watching my channel and the people that see the thumbnail that may not have watched my channel before will click on, then I'm going to go ahead with it. Then I'm going to create the thumbnail and title, and then I'm going to script and film the content. If I can't come up with a good thumbnail and title combination, then I'm going to park the content idea until I can think of a good thumbnail and title combination. Now, how do I come up with those ideas? I look around. And I look around, of course, I check out other channels. And one thing that's really important to know is I don't spend my whole time checking out other carnivore channels. And there's a reason for that. If we're all in the same niche and we're all creating the same kind of thumbnails and the same kind of titles, then eventually it's going to get really stale. So what I do is I go around and I have a look at all kinds of videos. Like I'll look at, technology kind of videos. I'll look at other health and fitness kind of videos from other types of channels, maybe even vegan channels. Just look at ones that I think I can work my content idea into an idea around the way this thumbnail is. And it doesn't mean that you're copying the thumbnail wholesale, but you're using those thumbnails as an idea. And while you're going through, just screenshot things and keep all the stuff in like your swipe file so that you can always go back and look later. So the couple of thumbnails that you see as you're looking for today's video might not be the thumbnails that you go ahead and use right now. But if you like them, you swipe them, just copy them, screenshot them, keep them in a folder on your computer, and you can always go back and check them later. Because if you refresh your screen, it's very hard to go and find those thumbnails again if it's not a channel that you're subscribed to. Okay guys, I've been talking for what seems like an hour, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to edit this video in time to get it out tonight. So I did have one more thing that I wanted to talk about, how we can effectively use ChatGPT to come up with ideas for our videos, to come up with ideas for our titles, to modify titles for us. And it's not as simple as you might think for just going to ChatGPT and saying, give me an idea for this. But it's going to take me a really long time to go into this, and I'm losing my voice. So what I'll do is, if you are interested in me talking about how we can use ChatGPT, I'll be happy to put together a video to do that. Please put a comment in the description. Let me know that you're interested, and I can definitely get that going for you. But otherwise, guys, thank you for watching, and please, if you haven't started already, get out there and start putting your channel together, make your voice heard, and just share your story about carnivore. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.